Well, thank you so much for taking a minute out for the program today. It's great to meet you. I appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure.
So let's begin our journey with this. I always start with this question. 6 years ago, the pandemic totally changed our world. How did you get through that coronavirus era, and how has it affected the way that you do business and live in 2026?
It changed everything, and not necessarily for the better, to be honest.
Yeah.
Up until that point, for example, okay, I do corporate training, or had been for the about 10 years previous to that, approximately. I was doing a lot of live, in-person workshops with 40, 50 people, pretty much every week. This was going on for years, usually in company trainings, could be negotiations, public speaking, whatever. That was all a lot of fun. And then it all stopped. Just literally like that. And it never really started again. I mean, yes, sure, I still do workshops and stuff now and again, every few months. Everybody wants to meet on Zoom. And you try to teach somebody a public speaking class on Zoom, try. And actually for them to get some really good value out of it, it's not that easy. There's a lot of people out there doing that, but it's not the same as actually standing in front of your other participants or classmates or whatever and actually practicing in front of people. It's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
And then during the period itself was pretty freaky. I was in Spain when it first happened, so we were completely locked down. It was real strict. You couldn't leave the front. You could not leave the front door of your house. And you get harassed by. I mean, the police weren't just harassing people when you go to the grocery store; they were beating people up with clubs. Not exaggerating. I saw this with my own eyes. It was really out of hand. But there were some exemptions, so like you could walk your dog. So you would see people like walking your dogs like 50 times a day, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Quick funny anecdote. I was talking to a client of mine during the thing, and I jog every morning. And my client tells me he jogs his way. He goes, man, just dress in black, because I was in the countryside. He goes, nobody's going to know at 3, 4 in the morning, just go for your run. So I took his advice and I got dressed all in black and I went for a run. I swear not, Joe, I wasn't out 5 minutes and I could hear tires in the distance and then these little blue lights. And there were 2 patrol cars coming in. I freaked because, I mean, it was you get arrested and all kind of bad stuff would happen. So I raced back home. I got home. I didn't get caught, but I couldn't figure out how at that time in the morning.
Yeah.
Did anybody know I was running? And I was running like it's a country road. There were cows. I mean, there's no people. And then I found out later there were drones.
Wow.
That's it. So
That's crazy.
I left and I went to Germany and spent 2 months in Germany during the pandemic. And that was relatively cool. They had open air beer bars with live music outside. So you could go out and be with people, but there were some restrictions about being indoors. But they didn't make you wear masks. It was weird. You could get in a metro without a mask. The police wouldn't say anything, with the exception of the airports and federal buildings.
Gotcha.
But Munich and Berlin are not exactly cheap cities. So after a few months, you start burning through some cash. Yeah. I left. I went to Brazil.
Wow.
Stayed about 6 months there, as long as I could stay for my visa. And then when I couldn't renew my visa anymore, I left. And then I went to Mexico and did the same thing. And I was kind of like running away from the vaccine because I kept hearing weird things about it. And then finally it started, the COVID thing started unraveling or whatever. And then I came back to the States where I haven't lived for years. I've lived in Europe most of my life at this point. And I was here and it was okay. Yeah, you could go to the gyms and walk around and run and stuff like that. But yeah, business was really soft.
Yeah.
Send emails out, people wouldn't answer.
Yeah.
Things were different.
Yeah, it was a weird time. So flash forward to now to get a handle on exactly what you do. I want to put you in front of a bunch of 13-year-olds. It's career day. And one of the kids wants you to synthesize what you do for a living. How do you make it make sense to them when they ask you what you do for a living?
I solve problems.
Okay.
What kind of problems do I solve? In my particular expertise, I solve communication problems. Maybe you're having an issue with that bully at work or at school, right? Maybe there's certain tactics, techniques, strategies you can use to get a better result from that kind of thing. Basically, that's what I do in corporations. So I teach people how to communicate, whether it's negotiation, whether you're trying to sell somebody something, whether it's public speaking. Fundamentally, they're different, but fundamentally, they all come down to the same thing. It's about other people. It's about being curious about other people and being connecting with other people. If I'm negotiating with you, I need to figure out kind of what are your red lines, what is your objectives, what are your motivations, what are you after, right? And in sales, well, I need to figure out what your problem is and kind of where your your buttons are. And maybe my product or service is not the right product or service for you. In public speaking, well, there you need to connect with the audience. If you don't connect with the audience, the talk isn't gonna do
Yeah.
well. So
So I got to know, at that age of your life, what did you want to be when you were a kid? What was your dream gig?
13, I think I was big. I went avionic, probably either being a pilot or a doctor. Yeah,
Okay.
that's
So we had covered that you're from the Kansas City area.
right.
Talk to me a little bit about growing up and what gave you this flair for helping people communicate better, living abroad, all of these things that have developed into your career and who you are today. How did this happen?
Well, in Kansas City, I was bullied a little bit, to be honest, as a kid. It's pretty bad, actually. So I had to learn other ways to kind of survive. In the first year, especially like in grammar school, was pretty tough time. Junior high wasn't too great. High school improved because I started learning like social abilities. So I learned to become very observant, to watch people closely, to listen, probably much more than the average individual, and actually be able to read people. And that was really a self survival mechanism. I mean, at the time, I didn't realize what I was doing, but that's basically what it
Yeah.
came down to. And I got quite good at it. Then I went to university. That was a whole different story. I had a wonderful time, far better than probably most of the people that bullied me. I can almost guarantee it.
Yeah.
Um, and very popular, successful in that way. And then I got a job. I worked in sales, insurance, successful with that. Company was sold out, and there were some other issues too with that. But I discovered I had good people skills. Then from there, I moved to Europe. I would have been in my late 20s, mid to late 20s. And I befriended a gentleman, a Canadian, who suggested that I get into the rough diamond trade. So I go learn diamonds. So I went to Antwerp, Belgium, and learned how to not just grade and grade diamonds and things, but also about cutting and cleaving and all that kind of stuff. I have a basic understanding. So if I'm looking at a rough diamond, I can put a value on it, what that diamond would be worth in the wholesale market. And that took some study. And then, of course, I got into business, buying rough diamonds and selling them. I would usually, the route was basically buy them in Africa or Brazil, normally, polish them, get them certified in Antwerp, and then we would sell those diamonds, but depending on the qualities. It's different qualities for different markets. I started focusing on the really high quality stuff, and that would go to Switzerland for selling. And that was a very good business until the financial crisis of 2008. I don't know if you remember, we had a big
Oh, yeah.
financial meltdown.
Yep.
Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers, all that. So that kind of put a kink in the machinery on that business. Plus, there
Yeah.
was a lot more regulation that was coming into play during that
Yeah.
time.
So talk to me a little bit about inspirations, heroes. Who has been that force in your life that's allowed you to find your evolutionary place right now in the business world?
Heroes, that's great. I would early on would have been people like, I'd say like Zig Ziglar, who actually I met as a kid.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit Jim Rohn, Wayne Dyer. I was pretty young, the period maybe my teens. I think I met Zig Ziglar. I might have been 12 or something. I met him at a funeral, which isn't like the best place to meet somebody. But, not his funeral, somebody else's funeral.
Right, right.
But my dad had a relationship with him. So anyway. Um, and then when I got in university, I went to an event with Tony Robbins before he was famous in Chicago. And that really helped me a lot in when I got involved in the insurance business because he gave me some ideas how to have greater credibility and being able to sell more effectively. They're techniques that people are using today a lot. The idea was you get a column in a association or industrial magazine or newspaper. We have your column, so now you look like an expert in that area. And since I was doing insurance, it was about risk management, property casualty insurance, this kind of thing. So back then, I would say were really important. And then later in life, it went changing. You kind of go evolving as the years go on. During the diamond trade was probably my most self-centered, egotistical, probably the worst period of my life. I made the most money, but I was most self-absorbed during that time. Then I got a lot more interested in things like spiritual things, religious, people might say religious things, interest in God and becoming a better person and stuff like that. Because I came to realize that you'll never be happy. At least myself, I'll never be happy, no matter how much material stuff I get or had or whatever, or been around, whatever. It's always empty at the end. There's always something missing. So, and also this is probably my well, I'll let you go on before I.
Oh no, well, I was just going to say, you eventually get to a point where coaching is the avenue. What was it? Did you have an epiphany? Was it a slow, gradual lead in to this life, this level of profession? How did this happen?
That's a funny story, and it's a great question. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
Okay, so I left the diamond thing, let's say 2008. It's winding down, 2008, 2009, 2010. I kind of took a sabbatical, you could say, for about 3 years. I went traveling because I did have some financial resource. I went traveling around the world. Diamonds wasn't happening anymore. We were still in this recession from Lehman Brothers, diabolical. So I came back to Europe, and a friend of a friend needed somebody who spoke English to teach these kindergartners, and they begged me to do it. Right? It wasn't about money. It was just about we just need because they were certified. They needed to have a native speaker because if not, I don't know, they would lose it. Could I help them out for just a few weeks until they could find somebody who's an actual teacher?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know anything about teaching kindergartners. I mean, come on. I mean, I worked for the government. I've worked in diamonds. I've worked in insurance, but I know nothing anyway. So I was there for maybe 2 months or something like that. So, but I actually enjoyed it, working with these kindergartners
Yeah.
and whatever. And I had the headmaster there. She was the assistant dean or whatever, helping me to manage these kids. There's like 30 of them or something. It was quite a scene, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And then an opportunity came up for me to teach a public speaking course for the Ministry of Agriculture in Madrid, which I did, and that went well, and I really enjoyed that. I wasn't very good at it because it was the first time I'd done it. I mean, nobody told me I wasn't good at it, but
Right.
and then I was offered an opportunity shortly after that, and I think it was directly related to that event by IBM, and I became a freelance corporate trainer for IBM in Spain, and I worked for them for a bunch of years, 7, 8 years. They were one of my main clients, and they just started then the main utility company, and then this company, and all these big name companies that people would know, like Siemens and Pfizer and Merck and TV channels and Hearst and Capgemini, whatever. A
Yeah.
lot of these big companies. And then the pandemic happened. But I really enjoyed teaching because I was a trainer,
Yeah.
and I used coaching as a tool for training.
Yeah.
Because some people they don't want coaching. Not everybody's coachable.
Right.
You can't like force. You know what I'm saying? So, but coaching is a great tool when you're training somebody. Sometimes you use it, sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
So I did. I went and got like formal training to do coaching and some of it involved like hypnosis and meditation techniques and all that kind of stuff. Because when I was doing public speaking training, particularly, a lot of people are afraid of public speaking, have strong amounts of anxiety. So, I said, oh, well, here's a problem that my clients need fixing, right? So I went off and I spent a bunch of money to learn how to deal with therapy for people who deal with anxiety and phobias and stuff. And it was well worth it, it really was, and had really good results and could apply it. Actually, I had one guy for anger management.
Yeah.
And I was able to use the same techniques in one of the companies I was working at, and that was all great. What I find though, like doing a lot, like trying to do like the therapy stuff, like online like this, it's a bit difficult
Yeah.
because you need to really like be in sync with the person when you're working with them.
Yeah.
Coaching is more questions and making people become aware of stuff. But therapy stuff's a little more difficult.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. In the realm of government, I always like to ask this. When you get in that world, it's a different world from the private world when you get into that government public world. Who did you like running into when all of those times and years that you were in that world? Who did you look forward to running into? Just on a visceral level. Who did you like to have conversations with? Was there anybody that you look forward to running into during that time?
Well, there were a lot of people I met, so maybe we might need to narrow that down, and I could say different kinds of people there were, right? So
Sure. Yeah, well, and I guess this is the thing. At one point I'd interviewed someone that was in the Oval Office. They'd been around presidents, they'd been around all these dignitaries, and I was like, "Who did you like running into?" And they said Colin Powell was the nicest guy in the world. Like at the end of the day, I always loved running into him because it was just you could be real, you could get that veneer of being that public official out of the way because there is that thing when people find out that you're either a CEO or you're in the government, everybody around you is walking on pins and needles. It's the God complex. So I
Sure.
guess my question is during that time when you're dealing with all these echelons of power on a human level, who did you look forward to talking to? What were the moments you relished the most?
One was the ambassador, the UK ambassador to United. He was a UK ambassador, not to United States, UK ambassador to Colombia,
Yeah,
and we used to meet for beers,
yeah,
maybe um, once a month, or because I was in Colombia all the time, so about 4 or 5 months a year. So, but we'd meet at least a couple of times. We'd have one or maybe two pints of beer.
yeah,
And he was a cool guy. He was very down to earth. There was no like, I mean, I knew he was pumping me for information. I mean, I think that was the part of the reason, and I think he enjoyed the conversation. But
yeah,
I really enjoyed meeting with him a lot.
yeah.
There were some high military guys. One in particular who was born in Puerto Rico. He was just a straight shooter, no BS. You know, you could trust him.
Yeah.
Really, you didn't have to like put up pretenses and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were a lot of other people. We're talking government people that are just full of you. Just they're like I don't like to say bad things about people, but it was just like snakes, yeah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Not what they look like.
Yeah, exactly. No, I can imagine. So let me ask you this. In your line of helping people get over these communication hurdles, there's a lot of it that, like you said, with therapy, and there's a psychological thing that goes into it. What's one of the main things that people have to confront to get to that place where they can communicate? Is there a silver lining of what people need to get figured out before they can move forward?
It's a great question, Joe. Again, I, if I were to break it down to one single thing, the number one thing that I think holds people back in most things is ego.
Hmm.
And the kind of ego I'm not talking about self-esteem. I'm talking if you have a low self-esteem, that's a bad thing too. But where you're this fake pride, where I'm more than everybody else, I'm more important, I'm more entitled. That really hurts people a lot because it does two things. You're trying to put up this fake facade, this fake front to people, and reality is something else. So it creates a lot of internal stress, and it's very hard to keep projecting that fake facade all the time. I mean, if you're a TV actor or something and you're on screen, it's a little bit easier. But actually, if you're dealing with people one to one, it's very challenging. So I think people's pride in the wrong way, or a low self esteem, or a false ego, egotistical, egocentric, either of those really limit people to what their full potential is. And that would be whether because if I think I know everything, I'm the smartest guy in the room and all that kind of stuff, I'm not going to listen to you or anybody else because I've got all the answers.
Yep. Yep.
So
I,
those kinds of people are very difficult to coach, especially when they get in senior leadership roles. They can be very challenging, and a lot of times, until the numbers start suffering or something like that, then they get removed because they're not making the numbers anymore. But that's probably the biggest challenge.
yeah.
And it's hard to see because sometimes it's hard to look at yourself in the mirror. And if somebody tells you something you don't want to hear, not insulting, right? But they tell you something you don't want to hear, it's easy to want to say, that person's an idiot. Reject what they said. There's no validity because it's threatening this image I have of myself. It's
Yeah.
kind of like the idea where somebody, they talk about like, the body has like a thermostat.
Mhm.
And for weight, I'm gonna use an analogy of weight, right? We have a thermostat. So my normal body weight, let's say, is 200 pounds, for example, just figuratively, right?
Yeah.
So I can go on a diet or do whatever and do a bunch of exercise and lose a bunch of weight. But if my natural thermostat is 200 pounds, my natural tendency will be always to go back to that 200 pounds.
Yeah.
But this is true in psychology, in everything. We have like this. This is my personal identity. This is where I see myself. I will always try to fulfill that image that I see myself, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So adjusting that is not is it's not that, like I say, it's easy, but it's difficult at the same time.
Yeah.
It
I
first has
totally.
to be the willingness, yeah,
Yeah.
and it comes down to beliefs and values and that kind of thing. Oftentimes, what we
So I'm curious, what was one of the hardest clients that you didn't think you were going to be able to crack through? And it turned into something that was not only a success, but made you grow a lot.
one that comes to mind. It was a successful one, but it's just an easy one. There's more. There's definitely more.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm debating between it was a minister. One was a minister of transportation and agriculture, but we became friends. So we still communicate.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to go with this one. There was a guy. He was a senior engineer of a military defense contractor, an important one. They work with NASA, really important one. Okay.
Yeah.
And they put him in my public speaking class, not because he needed presentation skills. It wasn't the deal. The
Yeah.
deal was they wanted him to work on his anger management because they didn't want to get rid of him because he's very talented, but he had people problems.
Yeah.
But he didn't. So what happens is the first day we're setting up the room or whatever for the workshop, and he yells. He says, "I don't know why HR sent me here and why I'm here," all angry and stuff. And there were two trainers, and myself and another trainer there. The other trainer just freaked. I thought, okay, right. Based on the training I've had in the past, I went, you're absolutely right. I don't know why they sent you here either, but we can have a laugh at them, try to make it the best, have a good time doing it. That was the first little adjustment, right?
Yep.
Say that. At the end, we became very good friends. We had a private coaching session, which was what was the plan, not the public speaking. And we started talking about his anger issues, and he opened up about it. And him just starting to realize that it doesn't help his family life, his personal life. It's not definitely not useful in his professional life, but he's more for him. What was more important is his family and his kids and his wife and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think once he realized, intellectually, of course, he realized that maybe there needs to be some adjustments here, that it's not benefiting him. And then we did some other kind of like it's kind of a mix between hypnosis, meditation type stuff, and I don't think his life is perfect, but I think
Right.
things are much better for him today than they were
Wonderful.
7 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
And we still communicate, so that's a good sign.
That is, yeah, that's wonderful. So let me ask you this. Starting out in Prairie Village, Kansas, you've gone around the world. You've obviously done so much and accomplished so much. If you had a dream tonight and ran into that 18-year-old version of you, and you had a big coffee table book in your hands and handed it over and said, "This is the life you've lived so far," would that young version of you believe this happened?
No, no, definitely not.
Would you have any advice?
That's a good one. But I wouldn't have listened to myself
Okay.
at
That's
18. No, I mean, that's too. I know it all. I'm smart.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was. I don't think I listened to myself, even
Yeah.
if I knew it was myself and I knew it was my best. Or I might say, you're right, but meantime, I'm gonna have as much fun as I can.
So, of all of these places that you've been on the planet, what was one of the most unexpectedly magical places that you went to that blew you away? You didn't expect it, and it still holds a special place in your heart.
Malaysia.
Okay.
Yeah, I went there for a banking trade fair
Yeah.
years ago, and yeah, I wasn't expecting. I mean, I'd been all over the place by that time, and I was just, the country, the people, the food, just everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really was. In fact, I went for, I think it was a 1 week deal, and I stayed 6 weeks.
Wow.
I had the freedom back then to be able to work because I was working in the diamond business. I had the freedom to be able to mess around with my schedule like that. But that's the only time I did something like that, where I went to a place, with a short trip in mind and said, you know what, this place is great. And I just extended the trip and
That's
kept
it. Yeah.
extending it. And I traveled around and went up to, was it Georgetown, I think, up in the Northeast, because it had been an English colony in the past, or it's an island. I can't remember the name of it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really, I don't know what it's like today.
Yeah.
But at that time, it was magical. It was really
Wow.
amazing.
So let's say you walked into a room right now of everybody that knows you in a business sense. Throughout your career, everyone that knows you as a businessman or in a government sense. and you could swim through that group of people and go to a podium and tell them one fun story. Maybe an unexpected adventure you went on, a first concert, a seminal sporting experience, jumping out of an airplane, outrunning a bear. What would be a fun story that might humanize you to that group that know you in a business sense?
Humanize. Okay. Mm, okay. Humanize. What I'm thinking is mistakes,
Okay.
because we all make mistakes, right? And that usually that's a good way to connect with people. And a common mistake that we all make,
Yeah.
which I've made a lot. But I'm trying to think of a good one.
Yeah.
Um, I have some crazy stories to tell, but that won't fit the bill. Probably Oh, here's a good one.
Yeah.
This is perfect. Probably happen to most people. So I'm sent to go do a training at this $35 billion, give you an idea, utility company, electric company.
Uh-huh.
Right. So I show up Monday morning. I have no idea what the company. There was a HR company in the middle that had hired me, and they sent me there. Right. So I get there. I got no books, no idea what I'm doing, nada.
Yeah.
I walk in the thing. Some lady comes from HR from the company and just hands me this book on negotiation skills. No prep, no slides, no nada. I got 47 people in front of me for a whole day. And it was a full week. Yeah, that was a real long day.
Yeah.
That was a real long day. The people though were exceptionally kind, because they realized and a lot of them actually were like managers. They were like not super big bosses, but they were upper management type.
Yeah.
They realized what had happened. I mean, it was pretty obvious. It's like this guy, hey, you go in there and go do this. They would have told me over the weekend, I'm becoming prepared.
Yeah.
The next day was much easier because I put together like slides, and the rest of the week went better.
Yeah.
But yeah, that first day was horrific. It was just like, oh my God. What?
Oh, that's
In
crazy.
in fact, one of the students asked me, he goes, we really don't mind. You can, why don't you do whatever you want, or let's do whatever we want, and then we'll start it tomorrow.
That's
Yeah,
it.
it was just like, it's like, okay, everybody's got this negotiations book. I mean, it was like a textbook kind of thing. It's like, this is not a way you teach
Yeah.
negotiations.
Right.
You do like role plays. You teach people like some tactics or gambits, and then you go practice them in groups and stuff like that. Not just sit there and listen to somebody lecture. But in Southern Europe, the way the universities work is they just lecture you. They give you lots of theory,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of times you don't get the practice. You get minimal practice.
Yeah.
What you learn is actually doing the stuff.
Uh-huh. For sure.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
That's wild. So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, clients, colleagues, everyone that knows you, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I try to be as authentic and real and honest and God loving as possible. I try to live by two precepts: love God with all your heart and all your soul, and treat your neighbor as you'd like to be treated.
Yeah.
The old golden rule. And I really do live by that. I don't always succeed, but I do a pretty good job of it. I get better as time goes on. And I tell you, if everybody did that, we'd live in paradise, man.
We
Well,
would.
it would be, or almost paradise. If everybody just simply, for the atheists out there, okay? Those guys, right?
Right.
If they just treated everybody the way you would like to be treated,
Yeah.
it'd be almost paradise. And the reason I say almost is because there's a few weirdos out there that like to be mistreated. So, okay.
Yeah. There's always an exception, that's for sure. So if anybody's ready for the next step, they want to reach out, they want coaching, they want to talk to you, any of the good business, where do they go?
Sure. You can find me at drwebercoaching.com. You can find me on LinkedIn under Don Weber. You can find me on Forbes at Don Weber.
Okay.
Or you could even go to Entrepreneur Magazine and say Entrepreneur Don Weber. So there's 4 places: LinkedIn, Don Weber; Forbes, Don Weber; Entrepreneur Magazine, Don Weber; or my website, DR Weber Coaching.
Okay. I will put all these links in the show notes. Don, what a joy. Thank you, sir. So it's always great to catch up with someone in the 816-913. So thank you so much.
My pleasure, Joe. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.